Trade. Rona Doria of Surrey Board of Trade, I want to welcome you to today's Digital Impact Learning Lab, Thriving with Innovative Approaches to Talent Attraction. I wanted to remind you that if you have any questions during this session, please put your questions or comments in the chat function and we will get back to you as soon as we can. If we are unable to answer your questions, we will get back to you after the session is over. I acknowledge that we are in the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Kwantlen, Katsi, Kwiketlam, Kakite, Semiahmoo, and Tuasan First Nations. As well, I acknowledge the Inuit and Métis Nations peoples who live and work on these territories. The Surrey Board of Trade is Surrey City Building Business Organization, and they support business and bring business into the city. They are here to advocate for you in all levels of government. They are the concierge of connections. Check your diversified portfolio at businessinsurrey.com. It is now my pleasure to introduce your facilitators today. Raj Bains, Employer Liaison Job Coach of WorkBC Employment Services, and Nate Toves, Marketing Manager, WorkBC Assistive Technology Services. Raj, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As Rona said, that we're here to present on behalf of WorkBC Employment Services. So I will start off with just sharing. So my name is Raj Bains. I work as a job coach and the employer liaison, and I work at the Guildford WorkBC Employment Services Centre. We have 3 locations in Surrey. We have one in Guildford, we have one in Whalley on King George and 104, and our 3rd location is in Newton. So all 3 locations, we work together helping clients who are looking for employment. So I'm just going to share a slideshow with you. And on this slideshow, I'll talk as we're going along and how we help clients with navigating them to find employment and working with employers. Brenda, may I just have the slideshow, please? Thank you, Brenda. So just a little bit about WorkBC Employment Services, just in case, like, you know, you're not aware of what does WorkBC Employment do. So what is WorkBC? It's a program funded by the government, providing free employment services to both job seekers as well as employers. We operate within, like I said, the Guildford, Newton, and Whalley area of Surrey. And how do you become eligible for WorkBC Employment Services? So who is eligible to apply? So as an employer, you must be registered business, must offer full-time and part-time positions, and must have a guaranteed labor market wage. So this is how we work with employers. And for job seekers, to be eligible for our services, you must be unemployed or underemployed, must have a permanent status in Canada, must not be a student, planning to go back to school, but we have opened up after COVID and with immigration to refugee claimant and valid work permit holders as well. So we assist clients. So some of the services, employers, so finding and hiring new employers, we understand at WorkBC Employment Services, it can be challenging. So we provide free employment services to help employers the risk and challenges of hiring, business needs and growth. So our employment specialists, our employment counselors, job coaches, employer liaisons can help you as an employer in hiring your new employees that are on the right fit for your business to help it grow. So when it comes to inclusive hiring as well as general hiring as well, this is what we help for in helping employers. So often, if you follow social media, you will see that we host hiring events and we tailor the hiring events to meet the employer's need. So we're always looking for new employers to join us, and we are happy to do a free virtual or in-person hiring event. We also take care of marketing all the job positions for them. And we will even assist employers with pre-screening applicants for the job openings that they would like to hire for. One of the programs I will talk in another slide is called Wage Subsidy Program, which may be something you've heard of, and I can talk more how it benefits employers. So marketing the position. So with our clientele, we will often, like employers will reach out to us saying, hey, I need to hire for these positions. We will share it with our database and reach out to the clients we work with. We will even prepare them for an interview. And, and if it's a successful hire, it's what we would like to achieve for all our clients. And if there is some challenges that the employer, brings forward, we work with coaching with the client as well. So that's more of the marketing of the job positions. So this is just to hit on the hiring fairs that we tailor. So this is just to give you an idea with 3 centers combined together. So just recently we did an in-person inclusive job fair. Just in September, which was a huge success. It's right there. And this is just to give you an idea, some of the employers that were part of this inclusive hiring. And on the day, it was very successful. We had a lot of our clients, employers met with in person. Clients were able to share what they're looking for employment, and the employers were able to assist them on how they can apply with their companies as well. So all our services are free. So as an employer, so supporting your newly hired employees with work-related barriers due to a disability. So we understand it can be challenging. So we do have what we call custom wage subsidy, but supporting, so we can help at WorkBC Employment Services with assistive technology services. We can support the new employee with options for mobility support, alternate keyboards. I'm not going to go too much in detail with that because Nate, who is presenting later on, will probably talk more in detail with the services that they provide and how we work together. If you like to go onto our website, there is a couple of success stories from us, 3 centers, where our clients have shared their success with working with our services and how we've helped them custom their employment with an employer. And we continue to work with them to make sure their employment stays collaborate. So job start support for employers. This is great for our clients. We understand at challenging financial economic times, it can be challenging for someone who starts a new job and doesn't have the financial needs of even getting to work, commuting. So we can help with commuting to work until our clients get their first paycheck. We help with providing a Compass card upload or even a gas card, gift cards to help them with that, as well as now, for example, essential work clothing and tools that may be required in the job. So if an employer provides us those details, we are happy to assist our clients, set them up and get them fully prepared to start their job. So that's our Job Start, which is a very popular support for our clients, which is at no cost to the client or the employer. It's a service that we provide at WorkBC Employment Services. So I'm just going to hit on the wage subsidy, which has become very popular, especially during COVID. So wage subsidy is a service which really helps the employer. So the whole purpose of the wage subsidy is to help our clients. Now, when we talk with clients which may have a disability, may not be able to, easily apply for jobs, we provide custom wage subsidy. So the whole thing with custom wage subsidies, we work with the employer. And if the employer, our client, will set up the appointment with an interview, will present, and we will work with the employer and the client to see if we can customize a wage subsidy, which is a financial support. Custom wage subsidy for an employer to be eligible for any of our wage subsidy, they must be a business that is established. They must be registered with a Canadian CRA number, with a WCB workers' compensation, and cannot be a government organization, as well as they basically must be willing to offer a minimum of full-time hours. If it's a general wage subsidy, But when it comes to custom wage subsidies for clients with disability or special needs, we basically will even accept a wage subsidy with an employer for part-time hours as well, because we understand that our client may need to work less hours than full-time. And also we will help the employer work a training plan, and we will continue working with the employer and the client as monitoring, coaching, to make sure that our wage subsidy, which is a custom wage subsidy, is successful. Next slide, Brenda, please, on the wage subsidy. Thank you. So this is on the custom client and multi-barrier that I was talking about, wage subsidy. So this pays a higher percentage to the employer. So it can go up to maximum of like 26 weeks. Of the first 26 weeks, we would pay up to 85%. Second 26, we could pay up to 55%. And the final 26 weeks, we would pay 25%. So this is a great initiative, incentive, you could say, for an employer. And it also is a great way for our clients who may have multi-barriers, who may need that custom employment opportunity, that, you know, for an employer to give them a chance. And so this has been very successful for us and myself. I've actually placed quite a few clients into a custom wage subsidy, and we're always looking for employers who would give our clients that opportunity. And it's become a very good success, and we have helped our clients gain the confidence and get long-term employment with the same company. So this really helps, you know, us building relationship between the employer and our client, and work together in making a successful employment long term. And some of the other wage subsidies that we provide that is for youth and general clients. So if you were to hire, and as an employer, if an employer was to hire a client who is under the age of 30, we call that the youth wage subsidy. That percentage is a little higher, but that is to a maximum of 6 months. So you would get the percentage of 8 weeks, first 8 weeks at 75, then it drops to 50, and then the final 8 weeks up to 25%. And then other new hires, if they qualified for the wage subsidy, you were to hire a general client, we call them, it's 50%, 25, 15 to a maximum of 6 months. And we can cater that. We can basically tailor and cater it to 3 months, to whatever we felt that was needed for the client, as in training purposes. So for an employer, you know, sometimes employers will ask, well, why would I hire somebody with a wage subsidy? So we understand that, you know, the first 6 months, 3 months of anyone's employment could be on probation. So this gives a great time for the employer to get to know their new hire, as well as train them, and then use us as a middle person that can step in when needed if there's any challenges, and we can become the mentors between the employer and the client, and make sure that it's a successful hiring long term as we go through these challenging times with finding stable employment for clients. Thank you. So yeah, if you have any questions on wage subsidy, we can go in more detail. Feel free, you can contact me later and I'll open it up for questions as well. So that's more of like just to hit on what WorkBC Employment Services does. So other things I would like to mention is the unpaid work experience program. This also is for our clients who have multi-barriers, or basically could be having challenging finding employment. So we say to employers, talk to us, you know, give us the opportunity to share with you opportunities like wage subsidy. And then we've got this as unpaid work experience, which is a great program where we're saying, hey, give our client the work experience in your company, let them go, you know, provide that unpaid, and we will basically, you know, it's like you giving them the training and to help them get into the labor system of finding employment, and which could lead later on with the same company into an opportunity for employment as well. And we can move it into a wage subsidy after that. So this is another great program that we have, especially for our clients who have multi-barriers or a disability. So the other services we provide is, as we live in Surrey and we have a lot of multicultural language speakers. So we do help with hiring talented newcomers. So as we're going through these challenging times with labor market where, employers often say they cannot find enough good talent, and they keep on interviewing, but we say give the opportunity to professionals abroad or newcomers who may speak another language, which could benefit your business as well. So we assist lots of clients with different backgrounds, and the common language we do provide is Arabic, Spanish, Ukrainian, Dari, Dashto, Kurdish, and Punjabi, Hindi, and that's just a limited of some. We do many others as well. So WorkBC Employment Services not just helps with employment, we help with resumes, we help with coaching. We also help our clients with counseling too, when it comes to clients who may need some extra help. So simple as sometimes getting a job and you have anxiety as a client and getting into the job field, we will help. So our vocational counselors, disability counselors, they have the services where they can refer their clients, where they're getting that ongoing support from us at no extra charge, as well as we do resources to other programs as well, ongoing with workshops to help clients be successful with gaining their long-term goal of employment. So that's more of the WorkBC Employment Services. We do have a lot of success stories on our WorkBC Employment Services website. And this is just to give you an example of one. So this is a company of MicroServe, which has hired numerous employee clients of ours and become successful employees of theirs. So this is just to give you an idea from a client's point of view, how we were able to help them gain the long-term success that the challenges that they were facing. So that's many of our success stories are on our website. So that's the WorkBC Employment Services slideshow. This is information on our 3 locations in Surrey. Like I said, Newton, Whalley, Guildford. You are welcome to reach out to myself. My name is Raj Bains, and Rona can share my information as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions now that you may have for me regarding our services, and we can follow up, and then I'm just going to pass this on. That's the end of our presentation. I will open it up for some questions. Thank you.
I think, Raj, there are no questions yet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I will pass it on to Nate, I think. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Great presentation, Raj. Thanks, Rona. Welcome, everybody. Glad you could join us today. There's a partnership that you're about to learn about, and it's between the organization I'm a part of, which is Neil Squire, and the WorkBC centers. There's 102 WorkBC centers around British Columbia that provide services for persons that are seeking employment or training, as Raj has illuminated, and to help employers find talent. Some of that talent may have a disability. They work with all sorts of different individuals, including, as Raj said, new immigrants. Our role is to help the people with the barriers. They have a disability. They have some sort of barrier to employment or training, and that's what we're going to share with you today. So as you listen to my presentation and go through the slides with me together, we're serving 2 groups of people. Somebody seeking employment or training through WorkBC, and many people that are already in the workforce that have a job. They have nothing to do with WorkBC. They're employed already. part-time, full-time, or self-employed, but they have a barrier. And if an assistive technology can help minimize or overcome that barrier, this program may be able to assist. You're going to learn about that right now. I'd also like to recognize the Indigenous peoples of all the lands we're on today. WorkBC Assistive Technology Services acknowledges the territories of First Nations around British Columbia and is grateful to carry out our work on these lands. We acknowledge the rights, interests, priorities, and concerns of all Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, respecting and acknowledging their distinct cultures, histories, rights, laws, and governments. So whenever we do a presentation, excuse me, around the country, we start with the Neil slide because it's an important part of our story and how this got started. It started with a tragedy. Here's a young man, 1980, University of Victoria student, 21 years old, had his whole life in front of him. He was on the basketball team. He was an honor student. And going from Nanaimo back to Victoria before the new highway, and his vehicle left the road and tumbled several times. And Neil suffered a C1 brainstem injury, which left him paralyzed from the neck down and unable to move his arms or legs, and unable to breathe independently because his paralyzation was so high. And not long after the accident, he lost his ability to speak. So a stark contrast between the two pictures. You can see the trach device in Neil's throat. That hose goes to a pump on the floor. That's helping Neil breathe. Any muscle you don't use, you lose, and your voice box and larynx is really no different. So not long after the accident, Neil's ability to communicate was severely hampered. It became very painful for him to speak. The good news was there was no serious brain injury from the accident. The other good news was his cousin, Bill Cameron, was an engineer, and Bill wanted to figure out a way to help Neil communicate because he'd lost his ability to speak. So in 1980, again, think of where technology was, they started working on a groundbreaking device which enabled Neil to speak through a computer using his breath. So the setup you see there is an Apple IIe computer. That's the monitor on the stand. The tube in Neil's mouth is for sipping and puffing using a modified Morse code language. And he would use short puffs, long puffs, short sips, long sips, mimicking Morse code, and the letters and words and sentences would show up on that monitor, or he could also get it to print out on that teletype. That shows how old Nate is. I turned 60 in December, and a teletype was pre-fax, and you would type at one end, it would magically type at the other. But the heart of that device is a dot matrix printer, which is still used in some legacy systems today. So Neil could actually do a command print and people could walk away with whatever he sipped and puffed. Pretty, again, game changer, allowed him to communicate better with family, friends, but a real game changer when communicating with his caregivers, the nurses, the doctors, the physio and occupational therapists providing Neil care made a big difference. Fast forward to 1984, lots of things that happened in 4 years. Technology, you know, is still today marching at an incredible pace. They had met many other people in that 4 years that had similar journeys to Neil. And then Neil very suddenly, within a period of 7 to 10 days, had some major health setbacks, and sadly he passed away. And during what they described to me as a sad party, because this was pre-celebration of life, somebody piped up and said, it can't end here. We've learned so much. We've seen so many other people on the same journey as Neil. Technology has done all these things in the 4 years. Let's do something with all this. And they created the Neil Squire Foundation, changed it to a society, a registered charity, and a nonprofit in 1986. And here we are 40 years later. We've celebrated our 40th birthday this summer. We're in 8 Canadian provinces. We just opened in Yellowknife. And I do encourage you to go have a look at our website under neilsquire.ca. I've put it in the chat under programs, and you'll see we're still active in research and development with Makers Making Change. We're big on computer literacy, teaching people with disabilities how to use computers and software that helps improve their life, especially as it relates to employment. We have employment programs strictly focused on persons with barriers or multiple barriers to employment. And that's called the Creative Options Program. And assistive technologies are superpower. It's what separates us from almost all other organizations out there as it relates to employment, is we are giving people the tools that they need to minimize or overcome a barrier as it relates to training, skill development, learning disabilities, and their employment-related activities. So please go check out neilsquire.ca under programs. Did you know that about 25% of people in British Columbia over the age of 15 identify as having a disability? It's a very large number. It's close to 1 million people. The good news is people with disabilities in our province have amongst the highest post-secondary education completion rate. The bad news is their unemployment rate for people with disabilities is 50% higher than the non-disabled population. So just last week, I believe, or the week before, the latest unemployment numbers came out. It's sitting at about 6.6%. That means people with disabilities are sitting at close to 10%. Many people with disabilities with certain barriers, like blind people, deaf people, or deaf-blind people, their unemployment rate is unfortunately 50 to 70%. Yes, you heard that right, 50 to 70%. We have to change that. Hopefully programs like this can help do that. As you listen to my presentation today, again, I told you we serve two groups of people. Somebody who is not in the workforce and they're seeking services through WorkBC to upskill, get training, and find an employment opportunity. If they have a barrier to those duties, WorkBC refers them to us at Neil Squire because we operate the Assistive Technology Services program in the entire province. The other group of people, again, they're in the workforce, mostly working in a small business or self-employed, because all employers have a duty to accommodate a 2-person company, a 2,000-person company. But the smaller the company, the higher the likelihood is that there's a barrier, a resource barrier, a funding barrier, many barriers. And it's called an undue hardship. We fill that gap. Two of the items that fall outside of the duty to accommodate that we may be able to help somebody, regardless of the size of their employer, are the to and from work piece and hearing aids. You'll hear more about hearing aids in a moment. Two examples of the to and from work piece are somebody who's in a manual wheelchair. If their barrier is to get to and from work, there's some really cool ways that we can add power to a manual wheelchair. I encourage you to go to YouTube or Google after the presentation and just ask for that. Adding power to a manual wheelchair. You'll see some cool solutions that'll help that individual get from home to transit to work and back, or from home to work and back, depending on their situation. The other thing we can do is what you see in this picture, is modifying somebody's motor vehicle to get to and from work. They have to supply the vehicle and they have to get licensed to drive a modified motor vehicle. But we have $50,000 or more to modify that motor vehicle if it helps them get to work and back as the driver or as the passenger. So in this case, this individual, if they weren't sitting there, you'd see there's hand controls. Due to their lower body disability, they're not able to use their feet for gas and brake. So there's hand controls for gas and brake. The wheelchair is being lifted in and out of the vehicle with a lift device. We can fund that. Again, the individual provides the vehicle, it's licensed to drive a modified motor vehicle, but we can modify it for them as the driver, or if they did have somebody to get them to and from work, modify the vehicle so they could get in and out as the passenger. And it doesn't matter the size of the employer, because the employer does not have a duty to accommodate to and from work. As individuals, we have to get to and from work. They're called, in the industry, they're called accommodations. So, you know, you hear accommodations and you think hotel, motel, Airbnb. We're talking about workplace accommodations. They can be also termed assistive technologies or adaptive technologies. One of the common things we run into with employers is they think they're expensive. And they can be, but on average, It's about $500 in BC. And the workplace accommodations for people with disabilities range from simple solutions to high-tech assistive devices. I always say to people, we provide solutions that are high-tech, low-tech, software, hardware, ergonomics, hearing aids, visual aids, not eyeglasses, but more robust solutions for people that are losing their vision or blind. So if it's only an average of $500, you're probably thinking, well, why is that a barrier even for a small business? Here's why. The most important part of the services that we provide in this process is an assessment by an occupational therapist who generates a report and then works with the client and a specialized assistive technology, an assistive technology specialist to determine what is the key device, not a solution, but the correct solution for that individual based on their unique needs and unique disability as it relates to their unique work-related activities. Those assessments can range from between $1,000 to $4,000 depending on the complexity of the situation. If the individual gets a piece of software or hardware that requires training, we provide that as part of the service. So there's where the big barrier comes in for a small business. It isn't necessarily the $500 on average thing. It's the assessment, it's the training, it's all those other pieces that makes that number considerably larger. That is always fully covered when somebody's approved in the program. The cost of the assessment and the training by our team at Neil Squire / WorkBC Assistive Technology Services. So it's aptly named WorkBC Assistive Technology Services. We're not WorkSafe, we're WorkBC. WorkSafe helps you if you get injured at work. We're WorkBC Assistive Technology Services, but we love acronyms. If you're in an industry, you probably got your own acronyms. In the employment industry, we got lots of them. We call it ATS. We provide assistive technology and supports to people with disabilities and barriers like chronic pain. So what's a disability? It's very similar to the UN definition. It's any situation that is temporary, permanent, or episodic in nature that causes a physical or cognitive barrier to one's activities. If they're a WorkBC client, not in the workforce, if they have a barrier to job search, a barrier to a training program they're put through at WorkBC, or the eventual job they secure, they get referred to us through a mechanism at WorkBC. We're going to do that assessment, determine the tools they need, high-tech, low-tech, software, hardware, hearing aids, procure, arrange for delivery, setup, and training if applicable, and follow up in 24 weeks. People that are already in the workforce, part-time, full-time, self-employed, again, mostly in BC's smaller businesses, they apply directly to us. There's not much, the employer does not apply on their behalf, and there's not a lot of paperwork necessary from an employer standpoint. The key message here is it's not cookie cutter. Our team at Neil Squire and ATS, that's all they do is work with people with disabilities or barriers to employment or training related activities. So none of the work we do is cookie cutter. Everything's tailor-made to that individual that's in front of us. And again, those assessments are fully covered and nobody has ever billed, or there's no cost sharing on that part of the program. And we provide these services right throughout the province. We have an office in Nanaimo, we have an OT in Nanaimo, we have an OT in Ladysmith, we have an office in Kelowna, we have an OT in the Castlegar area, and we have 3 here in the Lower Mainland that travel when necessary. Sometimes clients come to us, and of course, you probably all heard of a pandemic that hit the world a few years ago. We weren't affected by that as far as service delivery because Canada's a large place, as you know. Thank you, Captain Obvious. We've developed modalities to do online assessments because one of the biggest costs of delivering services is the incredible distance between all of us as Canadians. So when the pandemic hit, we transitioned immediately to online assessments because we've been doing that in many places around the country. And quite frankly, we're still able to deliver a very high level of services. So in person or virtually, we can make this happen for people. So again, The services are available to an individual. It's always an individual that applies. Again, even when you're in the workforce, your employer does not apply on your behalf. The individual with the barrier applies. First question we have to ask them, have you talked to your employer? If they have not, they got to go back and do that. Sometimes we never hear from them because I guess sometimes, unfortunately, they don't want to talk to their employer, which is truly unfortunate. And again, something we're trying to all work on. 2, they've gone back to their employer and their employer said, oh my goodness, how can we help you? And then again, we may not hear from them. Or they've gone to their employer and they said, wow, we want to really help you, but we're not in a position to do so. Tell us about this program you heard about. Or maybe we'll have to reach out and find some resources. That's us. And we fill that gap. This may include barriers related to traveling to and from work. We talked about that. That is not HandyDart, Uber, taxi, or transit. WorkBC can help with some transit and some gas cards, as you heard. The way we can help with to and from work is adding power to a manual wheelchair or that vehicle conversion. People must be 16 years of age or older and legally able to work in British Columbia. And the thing that binds the person seeking employment and the person in the workforce is they need assistive equipment, devices, or disability supports to start work or avoid losing their current or part-time, full-time employment or self-employment. Excuse me. Somebody that's a WorkBC client that's volunteering and their volunteerism is a path to future employment, they may qualify as well, but they got to be case managed by WorkBC. In the interest of time, these are all very important. Our focus is the 4th one, client-centered. It's all about the client. Without the client, we don't have a role to play. We take that very seriously, and we involve the client as much as possible. If there's several options that we believe would help the client, we'll show them as many of those options as possible and get them actively involved in selecting the solution that they believe would help them. One of the other things I'm going to put in the chat is called askjan.org. Is a great resource. It has a search engine on their website that allows you to enter in somebody's disability and then give you a bunch of ideas of solutions that may help. Again, hardware, software, high tech, low tech. It's an amazing utility, and the Job Accommodation Network is an organization in the United States. What do we do a lot of? Ergonomics. 70% of us work in a desk environment, so supportive ergonomic chairs, sit-to-stand workstations, different solutions for input of data, keyboards, mice, software. Somebody seeking employment through WorkBC or in the workforce and their feet is their barrier. Like I have very flat feet. I have to get orthotics. I'm blessed. My coverage at work covers most of it, but they're about $700 now. Those are things that we can help with. You know, somebody that's lost a limb and they need prosthetics, we may be able to help with some of the funding on that as well. Somebody that uses American Sign Language for and requires interpreting and captioning services as a WorkBC client, there's funding for that as well. Now, I mentioned hearing aids. Hearing aids falls outside of the duty to accommodate. So if you're listening today and you know somebody that needs hearing aids and they're in the workforce, we may be able to help with the high cost. They're $4,000 to $8,000 a pair. We can take some of that burden from that individual. We have to look at their income, less expenses, or family income. If they're a family unit, less expenses, but we only look at a 30-day window. We don't look at a T4. We look at 30 days and we determine a surplus, and that's their contribution to the average cost of $6,000 for hearing aids. There's no coverage for hearing in our MSP medical services plan. $6,000 is a lot of money for most British Columbians. And again, doesn't matter the size of their employer. Workplace access and modification for eligible employers. Again, small business. We're not modifying the banks or the credit unions or the big insurance companies or law firms. We're not working with those. We're working with BC's smaller businesses. Could be ramp access to an older building, an accessible washroom for somebody so that they can do toileting duties at work. Somebody who's got a hearing deficit and they struggle to hear in the staff meetings. There's ways that we can add tools and technology that works with their hearing aids so they can participate better in those environments. And again, we talked about vehicle mods. It's a picture of our lab in Burnaby, state of the art. We have 2 different computer stations, chock-a-block full of different software. These IKEA cabinets are full of different keyboards, mice, handheld magnifiers, you name it. There's so many things. There's so much software today. We were at the Assistive Technology conference in Orlando last January. Orlando in January is really nice. I was blessed to be there. And half of it was AI. So AI is really going to make a big impact in helping people minimize or overcome barriers. We do a lot of ergonomic assessments in all sorts of environment. You know, people think ergonomic assessment, I think mostly their head goes to office, but it's home office, work office, construction, manufacturing, food processing, heavy machinery, you name it. It's about making sure the task is designed for the human doing the task, not having a task designed that you expect any human, regardless of their size and ability, to do. So we carry these out in many different environments. All the facilities around British Columbia have gone through the Rick Hansen Foundation Accessibility certification process for WorkBC and assistive technology. And our team of OTs and assistive technology specialists and administrators, we have extensive experience working with people with a wide range of barriers. And in our office in Burnaby, we have people from 4 different continents that speak 20 different languages. We don't want a language barrier to be a barrier to service. A couple success stories will show you how to apply, and then answer any questions you might have. This is Edgardo. He works in a care home. My father was in a care home for the last 6 years of his life, and he needed a hearing aid. If you've ever had lunch or dinner with a senior in your life at their facility, at their care facility, it's loud. There's 20 or 30 tables of seniors. They're all talking. There's dishes and silverware clinking and clanking. That was Edgardo's challenge. And he was constantly asking residents and coworkers to repeat themselves. And you can see by his comment, this made a big difference. Now, we looked at Edgardo's income, less expenses, or family income, less expenses, but only in that 30-day window to determine his ability to contribute to the high cost of hearing aids. This is Robin. Now, Robin, excuse me, is struggling with chronic pain from a car accident. This gives me an opportunity to remind you that we're a last resort funder in this program. So somebody that's in the middle of an ICBC claim or WorkSafe BC claim or short-term or long-term disability, and if their barrier to employment is related to that insurance claim, they have to help this individual. We have to wait till their insurance process has played out. So with Robin, I can only assume that the insurance claim was closed, but that doesn't mean that Robin was done with her injuries, right? As we know, I've been in a car accident in the past, and just because the claim is closed doesn't mean you're not dealing with some stuff. So with Robin, she's a delivery driver. Those are prescriptions in that box beside her. Reaching for the steering wheel was exacerbating her chronic pain issue. So we got her a steering wheel extension. So it isn't just full modification for somebody with a disability. In Robin's case, we got her the steering wheel extension so she didn't have to reach as far. We got her armrest, like a nice ergonomic chair, and then a very specialized cushion. So she was supported. And just take a minute and have a full read of Robin's comments, and you'll get an idea of how critical this was for her. I love seeing the success stories. It really helps me understand how important this is. And this is Randy, and if you can see the screen there, and you see that big smile on his face, I can tell you it comes right through the phone when you talk to Randy. I had the pleasure of speaking with Randy after he submitted his success story. And Randy actually credits us for helping him get this job at VIU. He's a Nachelnelth Elder in Residence with the Nanaimo campus of VIU. And Randy is blind, and he needed a special recording device to do his, he creates stories, many of them from his First Nations community, and then turns them into stuff that he can play online. But when he lost his vision, he went from sighted to low vision to blind. his old device that he used didn't have the audible cues of when to cut and edit. And this Electronics talking digital voice recorder does do that. And as you can see by his comments, and he chuckled as he said this to me, was, I'm never going to retire. He says, I've found my life's work, and I did not have the necessary technology for him to be productive. We got him this gear, and immediately, because he had so many other skills, he just needed the specialized tool. And as he says, our assistance has greatly aided in his career advancement. And as far as I know, Randy's still out there doing his thing. Offices throughout the province. Our Burnaby office is right by the Gilmore SkyTrain station. As mentioned, we have an office in Nanaimo. There's an OT there. There's one in Ladysmith, which is the next community over. There's a small office in Victoria where we do some of the admin stuff, and a team in Kelowna, again, more admin focused, but we have another OT that's out in the Castlegar region, and they travel around the Okanagan Valley and the Kootenays. So wherever somebody is, we go to them, they come to us, or we do it virtually. We promise a high level of service. Okay, so we're just going to tell you how to apply and then answer any questions. Again, if you're a WorkBC client, you get referred to us through a mechanism at WorkBC. If you're in the workforce already, part-time, full-time, self-employed, mostly working in a small business, other than hearing aids and to and from work, you apply at workbc.ca, find assistive technology services, or go to that apply.workbc.ca URL. You got to have your BCE ID. Once you have that, then it's about a 10 or 15 minute application. Another great way to apply is download the app. When people have the app, we find it's very easy to communicate with them, because who doesn't have their cell phone within arm's reach? That's a great way to do it. And lastly, folks, there's 5.5 million British Columbians. There's only one Nate. I need your help. We don't have huge, massive marketing budgets. I do presentations and all over the province. I'm a member of 4, the Surrey Board of Trade, the Burnaby Board of Trade, the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade, the Tri-Cities Chamber of Commerce. We do a lot of work in the business circles, but I can't get to everybody without your help. So who do you know with a disability? Who do you know that's in HR? Who do you know that owns a small business? Who do you know that maybe is a practitioner that's frontline to people in pain? Chiropractor, massage therapist, physiotherapist. Most Wednesdays from 12:30 to 1 online, we run this same webinar, and it's a great way for people to get educated about the funding and the services that we can provide to help people stay in the workforce or get in the workforce through WorkBC. Thank you. And if you have any questions, happy to answer them. All questions are 25 cents each, and we donate the money to charity. And of course, that charity will be Neil Squire, because we're a charitable organization. But no, seriously, any questions? If you're thinking it, somebody else probably is too. So feel free, type it in the chat. And thank you, Letty, Lily, Marjan, and Thomas for joining us today. I will try and connect with you on LinkedIn if you're on there, and happy to, again, answer any questions. And pleased that you took the time to join us this morning.
Oh, okay. I think Letty has a question. Go ahead, Letty.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank Rona from SBOT for the invitation, because honestly, before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Letty Young. I'm a settlement practitioner from Success, and we do assist a lot of newcomers with their various settlement concern, and at times employment is one of the number one concerns. So I'd like to thank Rona and SBOT for the invitation, because as I was saying earlier, honestly, Neil Squire has been out of my radar for a long time, and now I'm reminded that clients who will be benefiting from this services are lucky that you are there. So I understand that the process is they have to be clients of WorkBC first before they can avail of the services.
Well, again, Letty, there's two options there. They're either a client of WorkBC if they're not in the workforce. If they're in the workforce and working in a small business or self-employed, in most cases, they can apply directly to the program. If they need hearing aids or assistance with to and from work with a wheelchair modification or a vehicle modification, then it doesn't really matter the size of their employer.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
Yeah. Most of the disability that we're talking about here are more of the physical disability. What about mental disability? Is there any assistance that you provide or support for this kind of barriers to employment?
Yeah, and that, Letty, that's an excellent question. Mental health obviously is a very complicated discussion. Well, somebody is in crisis, no, we are not the solution for them. However, once they've had treatment or whatever it is, and they get back to what's called baseline, which is the term that they use in the industry, and if part of their diagnosis is anxiety, and that plays out in the workplace, there are tools that may help somebody that's dealing with anxiety. There's obviously many factors. What we encourage somebody is to apply to the program. And again, depending on many factors, we may be able to help depending on what their job is. But there are ways to help people that are struggling with anxiety in the workforce.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay,
Marjan.
Yeah, we have another question here. This is from Marjan. I work with multi-barriered youth and my programs are provincially funded. I'm wondering how or if your services work with and affect programs that are provincially funded, because we work based on an outcome basis. And a lot of the times, if our participants want to get assistance from other funded programs, we will need to exit them from our program. I'm wondering what kind of partnership is possible there.
So our experience is this. They need to develop a relationship with the local WorkBC office. So Raj, Brenda, or wherever they, and Marjan, are you in Surrey? Did you say that? Are you in Surrey? Metro Vancouver. So develop a relationship with the WorkBC Centre there's several in the Metro Vancouver area, and go talk, and go have a chat with one of their team members. How we understand it is you essentially would let your client get introduced to WorkBC, and they would case manage them just for the purpose of getting them to us so that they could participate in your program. So there's a bit of a dance that has to be done there, but they would not have to exit your program because the WorkBC Centre will not take over all services. They will just help them get to us for the assistive technology piece. That's how I understand it. So you need to have a chat with somebody that understands the working system of WorkBC in the Metro Vancouver area.
Correct, and I will echo that to what Nettie says. I recommend if you work with numerous WorkBC employment centres, reach out to all of them and in your area. And because it's youth that you work with, try to find someone that works as a youth worker with them and their youth programs. And they will definitely be able to assist you more regarding the youth programs they have and how that collaboration can work.
Great questions. Marjan, I've met many people from the Persian community, so it would be horrible if after all these years I was not able to pronounce your name.
Any other questions?
Beksada. And I'm probably not doing that one as well. Anyways, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you attending. You can get access to this webinar again, Wednesdays, 12:30 to 1 p.m. Go to neilsquire.ca under Get Involved. There's attend a webinar, and we'd be pleased to help somebody in your circle should they need our assistance. Thanks, Rona. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you. And definitely in the chat, contact information is there. Should you have any further questions, want to know about our services, please reach out to us by phone, email, whatever works, and we'll be happy to assist you regarding our WorkBC Employment Services. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Raj and Nate, for being with us today and sharing your insights. These are useful information. We will be sending you the recording and the facilitator's contact information after this session. Many more of these type of sessions are coming up, so please be sure to visit our website at businessinsurrey.com. Make it a great business afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, Rona. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Brenda. Thanks, Raj.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
everyone.
much. Pleasure meeting you all.
Thanks for making this possible, everyone. Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you. Look forward to another session like this again in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.